All right. So today we're talking about the S in the slump methodology. And if you remember last week, we talked about dealing with our fear, our innate human fear of failure, and our human fear of failure that leads us quite often to self-sabotage and to talk ourselves out of trying to get the goals which we feel that we really do want, right? We start on something, we set it, we set in our mind's eye that we want to achieve something, whether it's a physical, a mental, an emotional, something that we don't have that we want to go out and get. And at some point in time, we stop trying for a variety of reasons. And that's what we're going to start to this week breakdown. And we're starting with the letter S, which is about should and supposed to. These words. What should you do? What are you supposed to do? And these words will come up over and over whenever we're talking about creating goals, achieving anything, achieving success, living a happy, successful life. There's a lot of things that should happen, that are supposed to happen, that we feel we should do, that society will tell us that we're supposed to do. And this is the first thing that is going to stop you from living an actual, successful, happy life. Because there's shoulds and supposed to's everywhere. And life is literally filled with them. It's an endless line of things that you should do, the way things are supposed to be, how it should have happened, how it was supposed to work out, what was supposed to happen when you did the thing, how you were supposed to get the promotion when you did the work, how you should feel after doing something, how someone should have taken what you said to them. And these things are always coming at us from all over. And the thing is that your mind is a very powerful thing. Your brain, your mind dictate your reality. And therefore, if we can control our mind, if we can control our thoughts, we can control our reality. And this is not just in a theoretical sense, this is in a literal sense. If you can control what's going on up here, you can control the flow of your life. So in pain science, pain, like physical pain, there's called the paradigm that is most popular in recent years is known as the biopsychosocial model of pain. And biopsychosocial is simply just biological, psychological, and social combined into one. And what this is basically saying is that when studying pain, we cannot just look at one aspect. So biological would be physical pain, right? I have a cut, so I feel pain. Okay, I twisted my ankle, I fell, I hurt my knee, I got into a car accident, there was something wrong, something in my body is broken or otherwise altered, and that is causing me pain. Pain is an alarm response from our body saying that something's wrong, right? My bone is broken, that I have pain, so that my brain tells me not to use that thing so that it could heal. That's the biological part. And for a long time, that is what we thought all the pain was. But what we understand now is that the psychological and the social aspects play a role as well. Meaning that yes, physical pain can be because of something physical, but it can also be psychological, right? And an example like this is if you've ever seen a little kid running around in a playground or something like that, and they fall down, or your niece, your nephew, your kids, and they fall down and they maybe scrape their arm or something like that, and they're fine. They don't even notice it. They're not playing. But then once their mom or dad runs over and is like, "Oh my God, you're bleeding. Are you okay?" They realize it and they start to cry, and it hurts. They didn't have the pain before, but the psychological and the social aspect, meaning seeing the worry on their mother's face, seeing that the alarm in the adults around them, causes an actual pain response. And the key here is that the pain that they're feeling that is being caused by a psychological or a social response is just as real as the biological pain for someone else. Meaning that some people would say like, oh, if you're not actually physically hurt, then there should be no reason to feel pain. But that's not how it works. That's not how the body and the mind work. And the mind-body connection is incredibly powerful. So literally, by believing something is wrong, you can experience physical pain. You can make yourself sick. There are tons and tons of studies that show this. So expectations result in physical pain. Because you expect to feel pain, you can feel it. right? This is why also things like food sickness, right? Many people have an experience of you ate something bad and you got food poisoning or something like that. And that food for the rest of your life or for a long time after can serve as a trigger for feeling sick, right? It's not the actual food anymore. If I had a bad experience with a piece of fish and then 5 years later, anytime I smell fish, I get sick. That's not physically the fish making me sick anymore. That's my body having a pain response to the event. So there is the point of this is that there is a psychological and social aspect to our physical body. It might not seem like those are connected, but they are. And this is important because of what the last slide where I said your brain controls your reality. And we see that the mind is incredibly powerful. If I can create pain that shouldn't be there, that isn't there because I have no reason to be in pain, right? There's no cut or anything in my body, but I can feel that pain physically. That speaks to the power of the mind. So if you look at the slide, we see two guys. One on the left is a guy sitting in solitary confinement in jail. And if you understand anything about the human condition, solitary confinement is the worst punishment that you can give to a human outside of the death penalty in our justice system, right? If someone is in jail and they're bad in jail and they do something, they throw them into solitary confinement where they don't have any other human contact and they're just alone for hours, days, weeks at a time. And people will often go into solitary confinement and go crazy, literally. They will literally become sick physically, mentally. It can break people. And yet on this right next to him, you see I don't know who this guy is. He's some guru or something like that. But people, monks, gurus, just people looking to experience silence will go on meditation retreats for days, weeks, months at a time, silent meditation retreats. What's the difference? Why is one torture? Why does one make you go crazy? And one is an enlightening event that people come back from a silent meditation retreat and say that it was the most enlightening thing that's ever happened to them. And obviously there's the environment, and one you're in jail, obviously, and one is something that you're doing in a beautiful scenic, whatever. But disregarding all that, the point is it's the power of the mind. One is a punishment, and one is something I'm choosing to grow from. So this is just, again, speaking to the power of the mind and how our thoughts dictate our reality. There's an old saying that theoretically comes from the Buddha. I don't know how real that is, but an old Buddha saying that all pain in life, there are two arrows. The first arrow is the actual pain. That's the hurt. That's the thing that happened. That's twisting your ankle. That's getting fired from your job. That's getting your wife or your husband wanting a divorce. That's the thing that you wanted not happening. And then the second arrow is your response to it. And that is completely up to you. The first arrow is often unavoidable. The pain that we face, again, the actual physical pain of hurting ourselves, or the emotional pain of missing the deadline, of the breakup, of whatever the thing. Sometimes that first part is unavoidable. But sitting in it and the sorrow we feel and becoming hurt over and over and reliving it, that is within our control. So when we understand, now shifting away from physical pain towards more emotional pain and just pain in life. When I say pain, I mean things like not getting what you want, right? Wanting to achieve something great and not getting there causes us some emotional turmoil and pain. All pain comes from one word: expectations. The discrepancy between what you expect and what you get. In that gap lies pain. You expected it to be one way, it wasn't. And that causes you to feel bad in some way. So what should you do, right? The words should and supposed to are just another words for expectations. I should do this. It was supposed to be this way. I expected it to be this way. They all mean the same thing. And they can be internally or externally derived, right? I could say, I should stop drinking so much. I should go on a diet. I should exercise more. or they can come from others outside of us. They can come from society. They can come from your parents. They can come from your spouse. They can come from your boss. They can come from anywhere. Something like a 32-year-old is supposed to have their life together by now. It's supposed to be that way. I expected you to be farther along, right? So they can come from within us, and quite often they come from outside of us. They come from society. But the thing is, what actually is reality? Reality exists only in your mind. My conscious awareness is within my skull. Yours is in yours. And everything that exists in your reality is real to you. You feel your feelings. You feel your pain. My pain is different than your pain, right? You don't feel my pain. You feel your own pain. You don't feel my happiness. You feel your own happiness. And the thing about expectations is that expectations also exist in your mind. What you expect to happen exists in your mind. And because it exists in your mind, it is real to you. And that makes a problem because your expectations become very real to you. But that does not make them real to reality. And the reason I spent those first 5 minutes there talking about the power of the mind is because real to you makes a big deal. It means a lot. The fact that in your brain, that expectation becomes so real. I said that your brain can make you feel pain that isn't there. It can make you go crazy or find joy in things that would cause someone else to go crazy. So your mind is extremely powerful. So if it expects something and it feels that it's real, it's going to cause things to happen inside of you. And then we can talk about time, because time also is a man-made construct, right? Time, 24 hours in a day, 60 seconds in a minute. These are all things that we are very important to us in our society because we live in a society, but in reality, they aren't real. The past and the future no longer exist. Well, the past no longer exists. The future doesn't exist. The only place they actually tangibly exist is in your imagination, in your mind's eye, right? You can imagine the past very well. You can remember it. You can imagine the future about what could or might happen. But the only thing that truly actually exists is the present. So when we talk about our mental energy, our finite mental energy, spending our mental energy on the past, pining over what could have been, what should have been, what would have been, or the future, what could be, what should be, what we expect to be, are inherently flawed because we can't actually control them. They aren't real, right? The past, again, it happened, but we cannot alter it. No matter how much I want it to be different, can make it so. And the future, although we can affect it, it hasn't happened yet. And often our imagination, imagery of the way the future will look is almost always wrong. Very rarely do things work out exactly like we think that they can, because the world is a crazy complicated place, right? When you're thinking about the way something should happen, or you expect something to happen, you're thinking about it again from your constructs of your consciousness. It's from you, just like I'm thinking about my future from my point of view. But that's not how the future works. The future takes into play the entire globe and 7 billion people on it, and interpolitical, geopolitical, economics and global policy and all this stuff, right? You can plan all for all the future in the world, and then there's a war with Ukraine, and then there's a pandemic, and then there's a traffic jam on the highway on your way to work, and all these things that are far, far outside of your control. So I introduced this in one of the homeworks, the spheres of control and spheres of influence. So inside your sphere of control are the things that are most able to be altered by us. And then we have sphere of influence, and then we have everything else. So inside the sphere of control are really not that many things, because it has to be within us. If I have complete control of it, for it to be inside of my sphere of control, I have to have complete 100% control of it. And to me, there's really not a lot there. There are actions, our awareness, right? What goes on in our mind, and our thoughts, our words. That's really it. It's what starts and ends with me. Because once I bring in anything outside of myself, be it another person, be it, again, outside, be it nature, be it anything else, I'm adding another piece to the equation that I might not have complete control over. So those things go in our sphere of influence, right? That's money in our bank account. These are our family members, the opinions of others. It could be your coworkers, results, right? The results of whatever I'm doing. If I'm talking about a diet, right? My actions lie within my sphere of control, what food I'm putting into my mouth. Now, my results, I can influence them because my actions influence my results, but I do not have direct control over them. So they're not actually in my sphere of control. And then everything else, we have economic policy, we have, pandemics, politics, all of these things that like me as an individual have really no say over in the grand scheme of things in the world. And this is how most people would understand this stuff, right? Because it's like, yeah, I can influence how much money I have. I can influence the results of my diet. I can influence if I get a promotion. I can influence my family, right? I can talk to my crazy Uncle Joe and then get him to understand why his political beliefs are a little too far in one direction. I can talk to my coworker and they'll kind of vibe with me if I really get to sway them. But in reality, it doesn't actually work out like this. In reality, these are within our control: actions, awareness, thoughts, words, and everything else is everything else. Meaning the stuff that we thought was in our sphere of influence is actually far outside of our control because you do not have direct control over it. If you cannot say with certainty whether you personally can dictate the result of something, the path of something, dictate how it plays out, then although you do have influence over it, you have to detach yourself and not care about that because yes, you can influence it. You can influence your results. You can influence how much money is in your bank account. You can influence geopolitical politics, right? You can go become a senator and then an ambassador or something like that. Like you could influence all of these things, but because you don't have control over it, all of your energy that goes to this, you have to accept the fact that there is a chance that the result that you want is not going to come because you don't have control. You have some influence, but mostly the result is dictated by other things far outside of your control, like the universe. And because of this, all of our attention should stay within that green circle. What do I know for a fact that I can control? Me, my actions, my thoughts, my awareness, my words. I'm very deliberate about the words that I use because of that reason, because I can control that. I can't control how you take those words, but I can control the words that I say. And there's a big difference here because it lies in that sphere of influence, because a lot of people get the sphere of control thing and they get that there's things way outside of their control. But where we mess up is by putting too much into our sphere of influence, into thinking like, well, yeah, I can influence. If I have influence over my success in business, I can make myself get a promotion. I can make my business successful. I can make my diet work by just exercising harder and stuff like that. And the thing is that you have influence over these things, but it is not deterministic. Not deterministic, meaning you cannot bet on it without a shadow of a doubt. You can possibly influence those things, but possibly is a big word. And then what happens is a lot of times it will work out. A lot of times, if you work hard, you will get the promotion. A lot of times, if you do what you need to do, your business will be successful. Most of the time, if you exercise and you diet, you will lose the weight. But since you don't have complete control over the outcome, it doesn't always work out like that. And you need to understand that going into it, because if not, the shoulds come in. It should have been like this. I should have gotten this result. I expected it to be this way. But we have to understand that we cannot put shoulds and expectations onto things because we don't control the end final outcome. So when you talk about influence, it's very simple. If I have, again, we have influence over everything, right? I can influence my family. If I have a child, I can tell them what to do. That doesn't mean they'll listen to me. I have influence over a lot of things. So the question is, if I have influence over something, can I use nothing but my effort to create a result? If I can, then I have control over that thing, right? I have influence over what I say. I can, purely through my thoughts, through the power of my mind, control what I'm saying. I can stop talking right now. I can move my hands. That's within my control. Literally everything else is outside of that, because although I can influence everything else. I can influence politics. I can influence my boss. I can influence my coworkers, my family members. I can influence my weight. It still takes effort. But in order to get the result, there still is an element of luck. And because of that, it will always only result in a possible positive outcome for you. And as long as you have an attachment to the fact that because I put in this effort, I should have gotten this result, you are setting yourself up for possible disappointment. Not definite, because again, it could work out in your favor, and oftentimes it will. But the point is to understand that if you think that it's supposed to be one way, it should be one way, you expected it to be one way, and it comes out another way, this is a huge reason your brain will allow you to quit. Because your brain, going back to weeks 1 and 2, does not like bad deals. It does not like expending energy and getting nothing in return. So if it thinks, hey, I'm doing all this work that I should have received benefit A, if I'm doing all of this extra effort and I should have received this benefit, but now I'm not getting this benefit, that's a reason that your brain goes, oh, this is a bad deal. We shouldn't do this anymore. We can quit. We can give up. That's how you self-sabotage. So the answer then is to at least partially detach our emotion from the expectations, because we can have these expectations, right? You can have goals, you can have aspirations, you can have dreams, right? No, you're like, I diet because I expect to lose weight. I go to work because I expect to get paid. That's fine. But the point is, how emotionally attached are you to the result? Meaning, I diet because I expect to lose weight. But if I don't lose weight, understand that that was part of the equation, because it's not within my sphere of direct control. I'm going to be the best worker I can be because I want to get a promotion. I'm expecting that if I work hard and my boss sees that he will give me the CEO position, whatever it is. But I have to detach my emotion from that result, because I understand that has to do with my boss. That has to do with other things. That has to do with other things outside of me. And if I have that equation in my head of like, oh, I did this, and so I'm supposed to get this, it's not taking that into account. It's not taking into account that there are things outside of our control. And now I want to talk about a concept called loss aversion. Loss aversion is basically a concept from behavioral economics that basically just says that humans and most animals feel more pain from a loss than you would feel from equal gain of the same amount. Meaning, in a simplest term, it hurts more to lose $100 than it feels good to gain $100. So, and this goes back to what we spoke about weeks 1 and 2 about negativity bias. Your brain is always biased towards negativity. So it is more protective over a loss than it cares about a possible gain. So it wants to hold on to things more so than it cares about actually gaining. It cares much more about holding on to what I already have than it cares about gaining something that I haven't gotten yet. So another example of this is they've done studies where doctors will say, hey, for cancer patients, talking about chemotherapy has a 90% survival rate. So 90% of people survive. 80% of people chose chemo in that test scenario. And then for some people, they phrased it, chemotherapy has a 10% death rate. It's the same thing. 90% survive, 10% die. They were saying the same exact thing. Only 54% of the people in the second group chose chemotherapy. Why? Because it was phrased as a loss rather than a gain, right? The chance of dying, that is something I'm scared of doing. I'm scared of losing my life. So just understand that we have this inherent, innate loss aversion in us. And we'll always feel that way. Again, this is just human nature. The reason that this is important is because, going back to the beginning, when you expect something, when you think about the future, to your brain, to your mind's eye, it is real. You are counting chickens before they hatch. When you see yourself on the beach in that bikini, when you're thinking about the promotion, and you're not just thinking about the promotion, you're thinking about how you're going to spend the money. You're thinking about how cool it's going to be in that new corner office. To your brain, this then becomes real. The expectation is just as real as sitting here right now and watching this video is. Because again, what's real in your mind is real to you. Therefore, if you expect something and then you don't get it, what it feels like to your brain and your body is as if you are losing that thing. So it's not like I didn't get a promotion. What it really feels like is like I had it and someone took it away from me. I earned that. It was supposed to be there. It was mine. And you took it from me. And that is, again, a bad trade. Your brain does not like that. And it wants to protect you from that. So it will err towards self-sabotage. It will err towards allowing you, telling you, making you quit. This is a bad deal. This is stupid. We should have never tried this. We should have never started this. Screw my boss. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to quit. This diet is dumb. It's not worth my time. All of these negative thoughts will go through your head because you feel, it feels like something was taken from you unjustly. When in reality, that thing was never real. It was never there. You were always betting on a chance, a possibility that it could be there. So this brings up the question of motivation, because people use expectations as motivation, right? Again, like I said, I diet because I expect to lose weight. I do my job well because I expect someone to notice, and whatever. It should be like that. And the point is that these things can be powerful motivators, right? If you're saying like, yeah, I wouldn't do it. I would not eat healthy if I didn't expect to lose weight. That can be a powerful motivator, but you are playing with fire because you can't guarantee the result. You can say, if I eat healthy, I can theoretically expect that could lose to weight loss down the road. And theoretically, that's correct. But there are outliers. The presentation that I sent you before this one, I talked about the bell curve. And in the bell curve, we have the normative distribution, which is most people are average. And then we have outliers on the tail ends of that distribution, meaning some people just don't get it like that. Some people can eat a lot of food and not gain any weight. Some people can eat no food and gain weight. There are outliers to every rule. So if you are saying what should or could or you expect to happen, you are betting on the fact you are not an outlier, which again is possible because simply for the way statistics works, most times you will be average in most situations. But there will come a time, if you keep rolling the dice, that things are not going to shake out in your favor. So if all of your motivation lies in expectations and the way things should work out, again, you're just playing a dangerous game, because what happens when that doesn't work out? So the opposite of this would be using internal motivation, things of what you know you can control, right? So there's a difference between I am eating healthy because I expect to lose weight, or because I should lose weight, or because it will make me lose weight, which is, again, very possible. And it is a benefit of eating healthy, theoretically. Or there's, I'm going to eat healthy because when I eat healthy, it's a challenge for me, but I like the way I feel when I'm challenged. And I know that it's something that I can do. And I know that in the long run, I will feel better about myself if I eat healthy. All of those things start and end with me. I'm challenging myself. I want to be challenged. And I know that physically, mentally, emotionally, I will feel better eating more healthy foods. I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror and know that I honor my commitments. All of those things start and end with me. So now I'm not looking at external expectations of how things should work out, because again, I probably would lose weight doing that, but I cannot bet on that. So the question is, what should you do? And the key distinction we have to make here is, again, we have influence for everything. The question is, can you influence the outcome with your effort without luck? Can you control the outcome with only your force of will, with you? If you get up and do the work every single day, will it 100% of the time affect the outcome? If so, then that's a worthy thing to spend your energy on, for sure. And this is why personal development, personal growth, working on yourself ends up being the only answer, because that is the only thing that you can always, without a shadow of a doubt, know that you can influence. If there's something, and with your effort, you cannot influence it without at least some luck, then it's fine to still work on these things, but you have to detach your expectation from the outcome of what it should be, regardless of the possibility or the importance, meaning some things are highly probable, right? It's highly probable that if you eat healthy and exercise, you will lose weight. 99 out of 100 people, that will be the case, but you might be that 100th person. You have to be aware and accepting of that possibility and also of the importance, right? You can say I need to make my business successful. Like I will work on it until I die, because it's an important thing in the world to me. And I can feel that, and I can believe it, and I can do all the work, and still my business might never take off the ground. Highly improbable, once again, and it's extremely important to me that my business is successful, but I cannot simply will it to be so. I can get myself 99% of the way there, but I have to understand that there's still 1% that is just, you can call it luck, you can call it the universe, you can call it God, it doesn't matter. Something outside of me has a say in this as well. And no amount of me wanting it to be different, no amount of me saying it should be different, no amount of me saying I expected it to be different can make it different. And I have to accept that and move forward. And that now dictates where I can spend my finite mental energy and physical energy, right? I only have so many hours in a day. I only have so much energy. So now this serves as a filter. How do I spend that energy? What do I get? What do I really try to do? What do I get upset about? And we have to distinguish between expectations and needs, shoulds and needs. A lot of people say, I should do this. I should exercise more. I should be working on business. I should meditate. But a should isn't a need. Needs are physiological. Needs are unavoidable. I need to eat. I need to breathe. I need to sleep. I need to drink water. If you can survive without it, it isn't a need. So you can say, I need to eat healthier. But if you're not, then you don't. Right? It's a very binary thing. Anything should, any expectation, all of this stuff, if you're surviving without doing it, then as much as you should do it, as much as you expect to do it, as much as you want to do it, you clearly don't need to, because you're alive right now. So that's important to understand, because a lot of times we think of these things and we say, I need to do it, but words are important. And if you needed to, you would. You need to breathe. So you're doing it right now, whether or not you realize that you're breathing. You need to eat. So you've done it already a few times today. You need to drink. So you've done it already. You need to go to the bathroom. Those things are needs. Anything else is just an expectation. And again, that expectation can be important, right? I really should go to school and get a degree so I can get a job and support my family. I mean, that's an important thing, but it's not a need. And the thing is, right? If you had to, if you needed to, you would. If you need to eat, if you are starving, hungry, you'll eat. So when people say, I'm supposed to eat healthy, I'm supposed to support my family, I should take care of myself, all of these things, as Yoda here is saying, do or do not. There is no try. And there is no should. You either do or you don't, right? And the reason this is important is because your words are important. And when you're saying these things, I'm supposed to eat healthy, I'm supposed to be, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, what you're really saying is that I'm not. And if you change your words, you would start to, because should serves as a bridge to a future me, right? That allows me to keep that picture in my mind of, I'm not eating healthy. I know I'm supposed to, and I'm going to sometime down the road in the future. I know I should be really, exercising more and getting more steps. And, that's going to happen because I should. But are you? Either I am or I'm not. That is the distinction that you need to make. And that's the main takeaway from this presentation. It's great that things should happen, and they should. Things I expect to happen, it's supposed to. All of these things are true. But the fact of the matter is, they aren't. Right? There is no past, there is no future, there's only now. There only is or there isn't. Should, supposed to, expectations, they don't exist, for better or for worse. You are or you aren't. And that's, if you can take that forward with you in life and remember that, just do it, or you don't. And that's fine either way. but be honest with your words, because that is what trains your brain. Because when you keep giving yourself a reason of an excuse of, oh, well, I know I'm not, but I should. I know I'm not, but I'm supposed to. I know I'm not, but I'm going to. Or you could just say, I'm not. And that shows us your priorities. And if you want to change, you can always change your actions, because those lie within our sphere of control. This makes us be more honest with ourselves if you stop using this type of language. So when do the shoulds occur? And there's a few times. I mean, it's really all the time. At the beginning, right? When you're starting on a goal, right? You're thinking about, well, I should by this year, I should be able to make this much money. Okay, if I'm dieting, I should by the summer, I should be able to fit into this bikini, or I should be able to be on the beach with whatever, looking like whatever. And when this happens, just remember to focus on the controllables. You can have expectations, you can have dreams, you can have goals. It's fine to say, I'm starting this diet because I want to lose 20 pounds. That's a fine thing to say. That's why you would start a diet. But the point is, you have to focus on only the controllables. The amount of weight you lose, how much weight you lose, how fast you lose it, it lies outside of your sphere of control. And then also, these will pop up as we're going on a journey, as we're going in the middle, right? You're going to start comparing. We talked about comparison already. You're going to compare your expectations to what's actually going on. Well, I expected to be this far by now, but I'm only here. Oh, my parents said this. My spouse said this. My boss said this. And in these moments, again, emotionally detaching from the result and focusing on process over progress. Process lies within our sphere of control. Progress lies outside of it. So all understand that shoulds are not real. What is real is what is. And all we can focus on is our control. And this gives us the power, because when we focus on outside of that sphere, right, that big circle where everything else is, that energy goes off into nothing, because we can't control those things. So it's a paradox of, by focusing too much on the result, by focusing on too much on the number on the scale, by too much on the money on my bank account, by too much on whatever I'm expecting, I don't get it, because I'm focusing on something I can't control. Whereas if I put those things outside of my direct thought line, and I only focus on what I can do, my day-to-day activities. What do I wake up today and do? What do I wake up tomorrow and do? What are my thoughts? What are my actions? What are my words? I don't have to think about the result, but the result ends up coming because I've spent all of my energy the only way that it actually is valuable, and that's towards making myself better in whatever realm I'm trying to get better in. The tools that I want to leave you with are, first, to be vigilant with your speech. You'll hear me when I talk, when I say, if I'm talking to someone and I say should or supposed to, I catch myself. I stop. I say, yeah, no, I really should be. No should. I'm not doing what I need to do. Oh yeah, I really should be here by my business by now. And then I will literally say in the middle of a conversation with someone, like, actually, no should. I haven't been doing what I need to do for my business, and tomorrow I'm going to do this X, Y, and Z to move in the right direction. You need to be vigilant, because we're talking about training your subconscious mind, right? I started this talk by talking about the power of the mind, and training your subconscious mind does not happen by watching one video or saying one affirmation. It happens with constant repetition. So you have to be hyper vigilant. When expectations, with shoulds, with all of these things, you need to check yourself. And it will be weird and awkward at first, but that's okay, because over months and then years, eventually you will train your brain to not look for what should happen and only look for what is. The next tool is focusing your energy within your sphere. That's what I was just saying about focusing on the process, not the progress. There are things that you control and there's things that you can't. Any energy you focus on things you can't control is inherently wasted. Now, again, that's not to say that you can't want these things. You can want to have a successful marriage. You can want to have a successful business. You can want to have a healthy body and all of these great things. And these are great things to work towards. But the point is, the result is not in your sphere of control. What action get you to the result? And all of your energy needs to be focused on this, and none of your energy needs to be focused here. And then the last tool is to just start to honor your internal over society's external, meaning a lot of these expectations, a lot of these shoulds are going to come from other people. They're going to come from your family. They're going to come from society, right? They're going to come from Instagram and TikTok. They're going to come from YouTube. They're going to come from your bosses. They're going to come from unspoken societal norms. right? Everyone at your job, it goes to happy hour after work on Friday. So you should do that too. It's expected of you. That's not real. None of that is real. I mean, you can do that if you want to, if you choose to, but understand that it is not an imposed thing. You do not have to live your life by the way other people think that you should. One, because shoulds aren't real, A, and B, because by definition, if you want to have an above average life, you can't do what average people do. So many people do what everyone else does. And all that can give you, literally by definition, is a average life. So if you want to be extraordinary, then without saying that, you have to not do ordinary things. And in doing that, you will have to eschew normative social norms. Things like, again, what your parents did, what your coworkers did, what your neighbors do. You will have to be comfortable being uncomfortable with those things, because the should and the expectations that they put on you or that you put on yourself are not real. So just remember, after this, I'm going to send you a homework assignment, and it's a should journal. And we're going to take notes on all of the times society or you impose a should on yourself throughout the week. All right. And just check your email for that.